I'm Kara Ray, founder of Ambitious Moms Balancing Business and Babies. I'm a mother, a stepmother to 3 beautiful children. I'm a wife and a proud entrepreneur. I'm a mindset coach specifically for mothers who desire to strip the mom guilt and own their ambition in business and family life. The Powerful and Uncensored Mompreneur podcast is for the ambitious women and mothers who are ready to rise together and empower one another. Get plugged in each week for unfiltered and uncensored conversations between myself and industry leaders who support you, have unwavering points of view, and empower women to believe in themselves. We will be discussing business, spirituality, energy, strong points of views, manifestation, and what I like to call breaking the stigma topics. Conversations that will no longer be silenced. This is a safe place to reclaim your power of being a woman. Let's dive in. Hey guys, welcome back to the Powerful and Uncensored Mompreneur podcast. Today is such a special interview for me as I have the pleasure of interviewing a very inspirational woman, and I'm extremely proud to say that she is my mother. So let me introduce my mom, Gina Bell. Now, I'm going to chat a little bit about her, and then we're going to get right into the conversation. So my mom, Gina Bell, is a success catalyst and relationship marketing strategist. She believes women who have business girlfriends to play with rise to higher levels of success faster and, of course, have more fun. So this is just one of the many reasons why she loves to teach women in business how to leverage the power of collaboration, co-creation, and entrepreneurial camaraderie. Social equity is an entrepreneur's secret weapon. Think of it as an insurance policy for success. Yes. That's powerful. Now, Gina calls it the girlfriend effect. The girlfriend's effect. Sorry. Now, this plays with powerful partnership, visibility explosion, and business growth in rapid motion. Now, if you'd love to create the chemistry, the common ground, and conversations that turn these relationships into clients and cash, you are in the right place. So welcome, Mom.
Thanks, Kara. This is so exciting.
I know. I was nervous before this, and now I'm okay.
Yeah, good. That's good.
So I just want to thank you for sharing this space with me. And I've talked with you for a while now about coming in, bringing this podcast to life. And so it's finally happening, and I'm so excited. These interviews have been juicy and so fun, and I'm just so honored to have you here. So
I'm honored to be here.
Perfect. So both Gina and I hope you enjoyed this juicy conversation all about the girlfriend's effect. And so before we dive in, Gina, I want to ask you a question. I've been doing this with a couple of my other interviews, and so I want to ask you, what does taking messy action mean to you?
Oh gosh, that's just the story of who I am. I consider myself a don't just do it, really do it kind of person. And from that perspective, I have always just decided to do things and figure it out along the way. And taking messy action is just kind of doing it. And a good analogy that I heard other experts say is build the plane while you're flying.
I like that.
So it's really just about just making a decision and figuring it out as you're in action, because you can overthink things to death. I can overthink things to death. I'm speaking from experience, and you don't want to do that, because that's when doubts creep in, right? You can talk yourself right out of a great idea if you take too long to take action.
Well, yeah, and just touching on just thinking too much about something, even when I was thinking about investing in my coach again, I honestly, right away I said yes. And then when I got more time to think about it, I kept thinking about reasons why I couldn't, and I was able to make all these excuses. And so I love that you brought that up, because your mind is such a powerful tool, and you can convince yourself of anything, really.
Yeah, it's like that other concept of money loves speed, right? Money loves speed. You can create a lot more momentum by just being in action, right? And doing and figuring it out as you go versus holding yourself back. And, there's times where I'm able to get done in 30 days what some other people would take a year to do.
Yeah, 100%. And as you put it so nicely, that we are very ambitiously impatient. And so I'm very much if I want to get it done now, and I'm not patient with the process, which I've learned to become more patient with the process, and that has been something I've worked on. But I'm also a big believer in taking that messy action. I think that's so important to do, because that's what I did with this podcast. I literally made the decision, okay, I'm going to do the podcast. I reached out to a bunch of people, and we're here. And I'm still in the learning processes of getting it all out there and just feeling confident with it. So I know it'll take time, but it's happening. So,
well, I love the speed at which you're creating right now, because it definitely reminds me of myself, 10, 12, 14 years ago, because I was definitely just doing all of it, all that I could with what I had.
Yep. I'm doing all the things that I'm able to do at this moment, and I have some major goals, and so I am putting the pedal to the floor, and I am wanting to get it done. And so I'm glad that I have the support system from yourself, from my husband, and it's just nice to know that people are hearing this message and people are here, and that means the world to me. So I want to dive into some of these questions with you. And so because we have, women listening to this, and I know that they're going to be extremely curious about what the girlfriend's effect is. And I know we kind of mentioned a little bit in the bio, but since we're going to dive in, I would really love to explain exactly what the girlfriend's effect is, so that everybody really gets a little bit of a reminder of what that is.
Sure. So, and I have to warn everybody, at least those who are viewing the video, because I know this is going to be produced as both a podcast and a video episode. I will be looking at my phone because I'm a bit of a science geek. I collect research and quotes and data to support my theories, because it makes me sound smarter, but also it supports my theories, right? Like if these smart people are saying the same things, well, then it's of course got to be true. So the short answer to the girlfriend's effect is the tagline that you read in my bio, which is powerful partnerships, visibility explosions, and business growth in rapid motion. The long answer and the intention behind it is really, it's a culmination of everything that I've done as an entrepreneur. You're the best person to be talking to about this, because you saw Steve and I start BNI, Business Network International. We pioneered that across the province, and we started referral chapters, and we taught entrepreneurs how to leverage relationship-based strategies. And the great thing about that is it gave me an opportunity to see firsthand the magic that happens when you have mutually beneficial relationships that are intentional and strategic and purposeful. So it's not just about networking randomly, haphazardly. It's about like a referral chapter would have one person per industry category. And then a power team might form where this might be complementary industries. Like a good power team example is the real estate power team, right? Real estate agent, mortgage broker, real estate lawyer, et cetera, right? Those are naturally complementary and not competing. Yes. And so when you're thinking about the girlfriend's effect, I do have to share some of this data with you. I'm gonna dig up my phone here in a second, because I have to reference who said what. But it's really about building social equity. And social equity is that, what's the best way to put this? So it's about adding value and increase to the lives of others without expecting anything in return, right? Activating that law of reciprocity. And when you have positive social equity, you have this, you're attracting things to you just as much as you're giving to others. And the energy that's created when that happens is completely magical. Like opportunities start falling out of the woodwork. And the thing is, I do have to say, just there's a caveat about reciprocity. A lot of people, and I saw this firsthand in our BNI chapters, is if someone would give a referral, they would just logically, there would be this expectation of that person then owed them a referral, right? Owed them a referral back. But reciprocity is not linear. You have to give without, it's like you were talking about earlier about you have to trust the process,
Yes.
right? Same idea. You have to trust the process. You have to give without expecting something back. That's the magic.
100%.
So, and when you start to track these things in those types of settings, in a referral chapter, for example, you do start to see that it does work itself out, right? The number of referrals given start to match the number of referrals received. And sometimes it's the number of referrals received is exponentially greater because you're a giver.
Yep.
Anyway, so I got to see all of that firsthand, just the power of building social equity. And so from BNI, I launched the International Association of Women in Business Online. There was a couple other things in there, like Steve and I did the Networking Masters. We hosted the Networking Masters Telesummit during International Networking Week for 3 years, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
Yes, very entrepreneurial. But when I launched that association, I graduated to more of that online internet-based strategy. And I started learning and diving deeper into joint ventures and multi-expert projects, which that is really the secret of the girlfriends effect, is the girlfriends, like plural, because that is where you minimize your effort, but you multiply the results because there are other people involved. There's a number of people involved. That's the magic. And with the International Association of Women in Business Online, I published a best-selling book. I brought 30 women experts together, and we were able to launch that to bestseller status. We did multi-expert giveaways. We did the How Does She Do It Telesummit. I had the pleasure of interviewing Marie Forleo. I've had the pleasure of interviewing experts like Bob Berg, the author of The Go-Giver, and Ivan Meisner, and Mari Smith. She is, social media queen. And the doors that open when you have social equity working for you, when you have the girlfriends effect. This works for guys too. It's marketing. The girlfriends effect is my methodology. It's my coaching approach. It's, the work that I do. But so long story short, as I was doing these projects, more and more of my clients started to want to do those too, right? They were observing, they were watching, and they wanted to do what I was doing. So my coaching and courses and programs naturally gravitated towards teaching joint ventures, collaboration, co-creation, and how to fully leverage that, thus the girlfriends effect. I have a best-selling course called Meet, Play, Love that I had created that teaches women how to plan a profitable joint venture. I am actually in the process of recreating that because things have changed like that. I created that about 8 years ago, and things have changed. There's new social media platforms that have emerged, and there's a different energy behind collaboration in today's environment than there was 8 years. 8 years ago, the marketing strategy for a joint venture was pretty much send, a sequence of 3 emails, and it didn't really take into consideration other social media platforms because they just weren't really a thing then. But we look at Instagram and we look at Facebook Lives and things like that, and all of that's new. So I get to recreate this program for women with all of these new strategies at play. But one of the most, actually, I'll show you. I've got to show because we're doing another one, right? So we published this book and brought it to bestseller status with 30 experts. And the girlfriends.
Hold on, I'm going to pause you. For those who can't see the video, can you tell everybody what the book is?
Oh, duh. Okay, thanks. Yeah, it's a copy of The Success Rituals, Winning Habits of High Achieving Women. And we're doing a volume 2. So the first book, we had 30 women collaborate in that book, and we took it to bestseller status, and we're going to do it again, and it's going to be super fun. And when I was doing all of these types of projects, the telesummits, the digital magazines, I used to publish a digital magazine. I taught a course on From Mags to Riches, how to plan, profit, and promote a digital magazine, to grow your list and make money. And this you guys, the girlfriends effect is so much fun because you're not building your business alone. You're not building your business alone. And so that's really the magic. But I've got to share this science geeky stuff with you, right? So when I've always been in this world of networking and relationship-based strategy. Like, that has been where I have come from. But I was reading an issue of Oprah magazine, and they had an article that was all about this concept of the power of friendships. And it was focused on the power of friendships for women. So let me look this up. For those of you on the video, I apologize, I'm looking away. But
that's okay. I'm so excited after this to dive into question number 2, because everything just is going to flow so nicely with this. Like, everything you're talking about just aligns so well with question number 2. So I'm excited.
So, I mean, I love anything to do with human behavior, the human mind, whatever. I wanted to be a criminal profiler when I was younger. That's what I really wanted to do. So it's no wonder that I'm really fascinated with with relationships and the way people show up. But I was really thrilled to, of course, find this research to support the idea of joint ventures and networking and masterminds. But so this one is from the Journal of Experimental Social Psychology. So they did a big study that revealed that women are hardwired to crave close friendships. And these bonds are the very foundation of this concept of the girlfriend's effect. So the first study I called Mountains Become Molehills. So researchers asked participants to stand at the base of a steep hill and estimate how tough it would be to climb it. Those who were standing with a friend gauged the ascent to be less steep compared to those who were standing alone. What's more interesting is the longer the study participants had known the friend, the gentler they estimated the incline. That's pretty cool, I think. I don't know. And it works this way in business, right? The challenges that come up are much easier to navigate when you have business girlfriends to surround you with support, to talk you off the ledge of fear, to cheer you on, right, and champion you. And this benefit, if we equate it to this study, this benefit is going to grow over time, right? The closer you become, the more value and the greater the support is that you can offer each other.
100%.
So
that's why I think it's important that, you know, any woman in business has what they call their business besties. At least that's what I call mine. And I'm building more and more of these friendships and these relationships. And I love that you touched on the importance of what the girlfriend effect is. And I actually was just talking to my coach Autumn about this too, about the whole proximity is power, and never actually really understanding what that term meant. And you described it so perfectly in the girlfriend's effect, and how literally proximity really is power. The people that you are closest to, the support system that you have, really is extremely powerful. And women really need to remind themselves of that, because I used to be stuck in this, like, I had to have 20 or 30 friends, and this is what I thought I needed to have to be successful at some point in my life. And now I have a very close knit group of friends that I really classify as people that I fully trust. And those people are also turning into virtual people who I've never actually met in person, but just had conversations like this with. And that's so special to me, because no matter what, that is a close relationship that I have, and I don't need to be like in person with them to be powerful with them. And it's I love that, and I love the girlfriend's effect.
I have 2 more little research blurbs I want to share, but before I do, I want to touch on that, which is my business bestie is Stephanie Pollock. She's an amazing leadership coach for women. She lives in Calgary, Alberta, and we met online. She actually is a past client from years back, like from the International Association of Women in Business Online, way far back. And to date, like, we have a private Facebook group. We pretty much talk every single day, at least online, right, where we're checking in, but often on the phone. And we have co-created programs together. She's who I did From Megs to Riches with. We did a mastermind together. We had a membership program together. So many things can happen with your business besties too.
Yep. And even like I find, because there's some things that I've just never done before. For example, this podcast, and
Yeah.
even creating, I had done a webinar for the first time. I launched a community for the first time. I launched my business, and these were all fears that I had to move through. And then I'm finding all these women who are powerful and they're stepping through this fear themselves too. And it's so wonderful connecting and linking arms with women who are also pushing through those limiting beliefs, those fears, and just going with what they truly believe in. And I find that so empowering. I find it so powerful. And I find it just so absolutely amazing that people are following their dreams. And I've always been like, even when you said earlier about being this geek who looks at quotes, you told me just, what was it, like a week ago, that I was the kid that put quotes on my cork board, and that I would cut them out and do these things. So,
or you would write them out really neat on little pieces of paper.
And the funny thing is that you told me about it. I'm like, really? Did I do that? Because it's something that I still do. I am still so cheesy where I still go look up quotes, and I'm so inspired by them. And so,
I love them too.
Yeah.
Okay. Let me share those other two things, then we can get on to your next question.
Yes.
So this was that research about just the power of friendships. So the first one was that mountains become molehills.
Yes.
This one is disease becomes less deadly. And you might be thinking, well, what does this have to do with business? But hold on a second, I'll circle it back. So Harvard research shows that breast cancer patients with no friendship network are 4 times more likely to die from the disease than those with 10 or more close friends. Studies also show that, Harvard research has shown that breast cancer patients with no friendship networks are 4 times more likely to die from the disease than those with 10 or more close friends. Yeah. So what's more, studies have also shown that social support can lower blood pressure, protect against dementia, and reduce the risk of depression. So what does this have to do with business? Well, everything in my mind, because women with business girlfriends are less likely to give up on their dreams. So if you think of the women who are going through these types of chronic or deadly diseases, fatal diseases potentially, without any support or social network, they don't really, they may not have anything to keep them here, right? So just even for our health, the value of friendships is extremely powerful. But also think about it, these women that are in your corner, they're not going to let you give up on your dreams just because some internet troll popped into your Facebook Live or someone disagrees with your theory, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think
Knock you off the ledge.
Powerful knowing that the women, the girlfriends that you have surrounding you are the women that see you in every shape and form. That means the good, the bad, the ugly, the honest, the real, the raw. And they know you, not this, because we all have this face and we all put on these faces sometimes too. And these are things that people work through to not do those things anymore. Like even myself, I used to put on this face to impress other people. And now I'm just like, no, this is who I am. Take it or leave it. You either like it or you don't. But that takes a tribe of trusting people. And I went through a phase where I wasn't trusting people because people kept, I guess, losing my trust. I don't know the word I'm trying to get there. But anyways, now that I'm building these really genuine friendships, it has been much easier for me to open up. Even today, for example, I had this amazing conversation with another coach that I've met, and we're just collaborating together. And we've Facebook messaged back and forth. Today we talked for 2 hours. 2 hours. It's amazing how you could just connect so well with someone. Like we talked about a lot of real stuff, like things that you don't usually say to people on the very first occasion of meeting them, where I was like, oh, we're getting into this. Okay. And I was fine with it because I did not trust her. I trusted her. And so I think it's so wonderful when you watch a friendship blossom so quickly like that. And yeah, I just love it.
Well, I think that's how it's really supposed to be, but Yeah.
I agree. I don't think that it needs to be hard. I believe we make it a lot harder than it needs to be.
Yes.
And even I think we're all kind of guilty ourselves as we make it much harder because we allow our brains to, take the driver's seat sometimes instead of
Well, and
just,
you were talking about how you were putting on a face at
yeah,
one time, right? And
yeah,
when you do that, you do attract people who are just a little bit, they're not necessarily a good match for you. Like,
yeah,
whether we're talking about dating or business relationships or even just friendships,
mm-hmm,
what the more genuine that you are, the more you show up as you connect with people who resonate with exactly who you are. And so those types of friendships are easier. They're easy,
yes,
right? That's the way
yeah,
it's supposed to be.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not
So you're
hard.
going to like this third little piece of research that supports the girlfriend's effect, and it is that stress becomes more manageable. That
Oh,
doesn't seem like a far stretch, does it? Right? Studies show that when women are stressed, our brains release a feel good hormone called oxytocin, right? Which actually encourages women to bond. Like when we're stressed, we want to talk it out, right?
yes.
We want to talk it out. And this female response, actually, researchers also theorize that it may even be responsible for why women live longer than men, because men do not have the same type of stress response.
No.
Theirs is more fight or flight. Ours is more, let's talk it out, let's bond, let's come together, right?
Well, we can think it is actually like proven to. I should have looked it up through my phone too. But it, I was talking to someone about the female brain and the male brain and how,
Yeah,
as a
they're different
female, you can think logically and emotionally,
at
whereas
the
a
same
male,
time.
they can only think with their emotions or they can only think logical. They can't do them both at the same time, or we do it both at the same time. So
The
being
best
able to,
analogy, Kara, is a book, and I forget the exact title, but it's women are like spaghetti and men are like waffles, right? So women's brains are like spaghetti, where it's
yeah,
all intertwined and all like at the same time, like it's this big clump of spaghetti.
yeah,
Men are like waffles, where they might be in the I'm watching TV mode, and that's the only thing that is happening for them right now. Or they're
yeah,
in the I'm changing the oil mode, right?
yes,
Compartment, right?
yeah.
So men are like waffles, women are like spaghetti. So that's my
I
favorite analogy.
love that analogy. I'm gonna use that now. That's so good.
Yeah. So when you think about this whole stress piece, right, in business, every decision we make, every action we take can be really, really stressful. So having people in your corner, right, is going to get you a lot further faster.
Well, 100%. And even if we're just being real, because that's what this entire podcast is about, is being real, honest, and
Mm-hmm.
truthful about life. And even today, your mind is such a powerful, thing that today I was so nervous to do these interviews for the podcast that I was like, oh, well, we can always do these tomorrow. Like almost trying to convince myself that I was too scared to do it now. And of course I was like scared, but I had to move through this fear and I feel so much better being able to move through it. And today I've had such powerful conversations today. I was able to talk with, two, well, now I've been able to talk to three amazing women. Sorry, did I cut out there? My computer
No,
just
you're
cut out.
good.
So I was able to talk to three very empowering women today. I cleaned up. I watched two beautiful babies today, and if anybody caught my Instagram story today, I had to clean up a very big dog mess today.
Oh,
Oh, which was so gross, might I add. And I could have allowed that to honestly derail my day because I'm not kidding. It was like our entire basement. Like it was Mia Spray Poop 2.0. Like, yes. And I know that you know exactly what that is. Nobody else will, but just picture spray poop.
no. Oh, no.
And so I was so frustrated. I didn't even know what to do. And so I could have let that wreck my day, but I was like, no, I'm going to hop on this call and it's going to be great. And I was able to change my mood. And then it's the same thing with coming onto this podcast. These are all things that I'm moving through. I was able to go through and write questions out and different things. And I'm proud that I was able to move through that. And I really hope that women can be extremely honest with where they are right now. And that's exactly what we're talking about, is having, I had business besties that were like, hey, no, this is what you're doing. And this is why you're doing it. And they were reminding me why I was doing it. And I was like, what am I doing making all these excuses? This is just silly. And so I'm glad that I'm on here and I'm talking to you, because even these conversations are so empowering to me and just motivate me on so many different levels. And so this is just, it's exciting. And plus the fact that you're my mom is just like so many bonuses.
Very rewarding, yes.
And so were you finished on those?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will move into my second question, which we've kind of answered a little bit, because we were talking about proximity is power.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, how I was saying, I never really understood it until I really dove into the entrepreneurial life, and how that completely changed my opinions of friendship, even of myself, like how I valued myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I want to know, why do you believe it is important to form powerful partnerships in business? Which you've already kind of talked about that and touched on, how like the stress levels and all these different things.
Yep. I've got a very specific, great example to demonstrate the value of like the why behind powerful partnerships.
Yeah.
And for our podcast people, I'm going to be holding up some books again. So I will read what the titles are of these books. But like, just to give you an example, I've been published alongside of industry legends like Bob Proctor and Dr. John DeMartini from the hit movie The Secret. I've shared the virtual stage on telesummits with amazing authors like Michael Gerber and Marcy Shimoff. I've been recognized on Twitter, for example, as one of the most influential women to follow, alongside of celebrities like Mariel Hemingway, Kathy Ireland, the model, Ricky Lake, and Carol Roth, just to name a few of them, right? These books, so I mean, I have my book, The Success Rituals, which was 30 Amazing Women. But the first book I was in, which has Bob Proctor and Dr. John DeMartini, it also has Brian Tracy here, is The Power of Mentorship for the Home-Based Business. Well, here, I'll hold it up for the video people. I was also, you know, it's like once these things start happening, other people, right, your energy attracts other people who are doing similar things.
Yes.
Right. And so then I was invited to be part of Millionaire Moms in the Making, which is another best-selling book that we took to bestseller status. So I'm a co-author of that. From there, I was invited by another business friend, right, through this Power of the Girlfriend's Effect, to be part of another book called The Career at Home Mom, which Debbie Lechusa spearheaded. Doesn't end there. I was also invited to be part of Corporate Mom Dropouts, which is another book that we took to bestseller status. So all of these books, but there was also interviews, appearing as an expert on telesummits, being invited to write blog posts for other sites, being recognized in like the Globe and Mail and things like that as an expert on certain topics. It just being invited to be part of podcasts, right? Yeah. Being invited to be an expert within paid programs. And so it started with me taking the initiative to ask that very first person if they want to play. Will you come out and play with me? Yeah. Right? And we all have that stranger danger, right? It's awkward, it's weird, but it is so rewarding. It's so rewarding. And it was that very first connection that became a second connection. And other people introduce you to other people. Other people say, see you through, because you're exposed to other audiences, right? And then you have clients and customers also coming to you. because people are discovering you. But you also have this girlfriends effect working for you, where people are inviting you to be part of their telesummits and their book projects, where, it started out with me making the decision to co-author this book, or, well, if we backed up before that, Steve and I running the Networking Masters telesummit. And we had, amazing experts that participated in that. And it just snowballs from there. It has so much energy and momentum. Like I said, you get to minimize your efforts and maximize your results because everybody is coming out to play.
Well, and I was going to say, the way that you were explaining it, it's like the trickle effect in the water, like the ripple effect. I called it the trickle effect.
I knew what you meant.
Yeah, the ripple effect in water, just one drop, and how much it affects and it changes. And actually, you and I were talking about how one decision can change so many people's lives, that the decisions that we make each and every day have an impact on other people.
Yes.
And it's absolutely mind-blowing. So when you make one decision of saying yes to yourself, that could be, 1,000 other women saying yes to themselves, because you made that one big decision and big leap to do so. And so I think I love everything that you touched on there in regards to the girlfriend's effect, in regards to networking, in regards to all the growth that you've had in your business and the years that you have put into your entrepreneurial life. And I think it's inspiring. And I already told my mom that I needed to get all these books from her, because it is, I can't even believe that I haven't read them all. It's something that I'm on here like, I need to read all of those.
Well, that's partially my problem for being internally driven. There's some people who are very externally driven, right? These are the people who have their awards on the wall framed beautifully. They've got their the statues and the things on the desk. Mine are, I don't know where mine are, to be quite honest, and it's not because I don't appreciate them, but I'm very internally driven. I don't need the external validation from people to keep going, right? And so I'm always on that next project. Like I'm always very future focused, looking at what's the next thing that I can do. It's like Miley Cyrus, The Climb, that song. Like there's always going to be another mountain. Like, and I'm already looking, I'm already like at base camp planning the next project. So yeah. But before we move on to your next question, I wanted to offer 2 questions that listeners can ask themselves, just to kind of create this energy of the girlfriend's effect, of being in the right company, right? Being in good company, which is who are you hanging out with, right? That could be personal or business, right? Good question to ask. And are you in good company, right? Maybe you need to make some new friends.
Yes.
Right. In business or in life. But
I love that you touched on that too, because I'm just going to touch on that. And I really hope that the listeners on here do dive into that question, because a lot of growth really requires you to be extremely honest with yourself and who you are and where you are in this
100%.
moment.
Self-honesty, absolutely. And we can be so deceptive. Like human beings are super self-deceptive.
And I made, I guess in the last, really the last 7 months, I've made a lot of different changes in my life. And this year is drastically different from last year. And even in the relationships and the friendships that I've had, I've really had to sit down and really reevaluate a lot of those in my life, and to really be extremely honest with myself about who I'm spending my time with, and if I want to continue to spend my time with those people. And it's not because I don't necessarily like those people, but our paths aren't really crossing very well anymore. And there's so much effort that has to be placed into there, where it's not ease. And life changes and people change and people grow, and sometimes people grow out of each other, and that's okay. It is something I'm having to move through, something I'm having to go through, but I'm also finding the more that I'm moving through this, the more connections I'm making and the more growth that is happening. And so
it's opening up space for the right relationships.
Yes. And it can feel hard and it can feel scary. You can feel 1,000 different emotions having to move through or let go of other people and open space for others. But I promise you, as like even yourself and myself are people who are walking through this now or have walked through these scenarios previously. And we just want you to know that walking through those fears and really surrounding yourself with people who love you and care about you and support you, and you're not trying to tell them to support you. You never have to do that with these people. Like these people I'm creating friendships with now, I don't have to, explain everything that I'm doing. I don't have to wonder why they're not supporting me. These women are supporting me. They're empowering me. They're sharing things. They're being a part of my life and celebrating my life. And that is extremely important. And I'm really understanding the differences between what I thought was friendship and what really truly is friendship.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Love it.
And so I'm going to go into question number 3,
Sure.
because I want to touch on, we talked about, the girlfriend's effect. We talked about proximity is power and the powerful partnerships. And so now I really want to ask you how you describe visibility explosion and what is the most important part of visibility within network marketing.
Sure. Well, if the listeners are a high achiever like me, they probably don't have patience for slow growth strategies. I know I never have. But that said, it's important to have both working for you, right? The slow growth, the Kaizen, right? The day-to-day things that you improve over time, that collectively over time, they become significant. And the catalyst strategies, which is like the girlfriend's effect. It is the groups of people moving in the same direction at the same time and creating that momentum, which is so much more than you could create on your own, right? And the visibility is so vital because people need to know what, like they need to, you can't be invisible and expect anything to happen, right? You have to take the risk to be visible to your potential, to your prospects, to the people who are your people, right? Yeah. And the very best way to do that is by getting in front of other people's audiences initially, if we're looking from a network marketing perspective, because number one, there tends to be a lot of stigma and myths and misunderstandings and misconceptions and sometimes even negativity, which typically stem from either a bad experience or a complete misunderstanding. But the more that you can connect with experts, people who have credibility before you do, you get to borrow that credibility, right? People see you connecting and working and partnering with these people, and that allows them to trust you and believe in you. So you get to borrow that credibility and pass it along to your prospects, because it's like, if we look at just like the cornerstone of network marketing, and some people love this strategy and some people don't, but just the power of like a 3-way call, bringing another expert into, it doesn't even have to be a phone call, right? It can be on Messenger, whatever, but bringing in somebody else who is more of an expert than you to add credibility. If more than one person is saying the same thing, well, then it must be true, right? So, and again, you borrow their credibility and it builds trust. It's no longer just you, where a person may take your spin on things as you're trying to quote unquote sell them. And once you bring other people into the conversation, or they're able to see other people talking about the same things, it boosts that belief tenfold.
Well, and I just want to touch on that because I love that you're talking about that, because it's exactly what I and myself and a couple women I'm collaborating with are doing in our business. Mm-hmm. And we are, co-creating, collaborating. We're talking about, we're super passionate about certain topics that one or the other might not exactly know everything to talk about. Yes. And so we are going live in their communities and we're collaborating together. We're interviewing each other. We're, getting our message across too, but also other people's messages into our communities. And we're bringing so much content to these women that it's amazing. And so I love that you talked about visibility like that, because even I just learned something new, that we are really doing that is something that we're doing. And I love that you brought that up, because that makes me really freaking proud.
Yeah, I mean, that absolutely is the best way, is get in front of other people's audience or be the ringleader. Like, you are starting a podcast,
Yeah.
right? You have your community and you're inviting other people in, but they're also inviting you back, right? You've got that the girlfriend's effect working in that way. And the same thing is going to happen with your podcast, as is happening with your community. You're going to get in front of other people's audiences. And right now you're also inviting people to get in front of your audience.
Yeah, and I'm extremely passionate about talking to mothers and talking to women and empowering women. It makes, there's so many warm, fuzzy feelings inside that I feel when I talk about, you know, and I've even said to people before, a lot of the times that that's why this interview is so special to me, because I got to watch you as a child explode into success, and I got to watch you in front of hundreds of people and talk on stages where I was like, that is my mom, that's my mom, and I was proud. And so I want to eventually be able to step into something like that. Like, you have not like set this, you have allowed me to believe in goals and to know that I can achieve them, and you've allowed me to have this space of honoring where I am, of accepting the growth, but knowing that it takes, work too. And even as a child, you never made me feel like I wasn't important through your business. Like, you valued me as a part of that business and introduced me and took me to things and explained things so well. And
It was so fun to take you to some of those networking events, and you would get dressed up in a suit, and you were so awesome at those events. It was so great. It was so fun.
well, and we had so much fun with it because, one of my best friends, Tristan, went with us to a few of those, and me and her always had a blast, and we got to talk to people and meet people. And there's still people that I come across, like, through walking around town and stuff, that I know from your events. And so,
Well, are you still connected with Justin?
am I still?
Yeah.
That's actually, so I actually want to interview another coach, because I followed her and then realized that those two are, in a relationship together. And so I don't follow him directly or anything, but I know who you're talking about. But so I do know his girlfriend is a coach, actually, very spiritual coach.
Okay,
And
excellent.
yeah,
Awesome. Okay. I
yeah.
think I
So
remember you and I talking about this. Yeah, because I just talked to his mom. But anyways,
yes,
the podcast listeners don't necessarily need to know that. But it's a good example of how just being involved in those things, and
yep,
you weren't even, like, you were young, right? You weren't there doing business. You were there just
no,
living life, and you still have benefit that has emerged just from being around other people and understanding the idea of just networking and connecting. And
yeah. Well, you showed me the power of a voice. That is a big thing. Is you showed me the power of a voice, and that it takes one person. That it takes one person to stand up and to just express how they feel and talk about a subject and just watch the ripple effect. And I love that. And so, especially because I'm talking to moms on here who sometimes feel overwhelmed or stressed, and they're trying to figure out this balance, that even mom, you might not have felt like you had this balance, but me as a kid, I sure felt like you did. And you sure were able to show up in all other areas that I needed you to. And even if there were days that you couldn't, you still kicked ass. And I want to be able to embody those things for my children too. And I know that my journey compared to your journey is still going to be different, because we're two different human beings. But there is many things that I'm so proud of you, that
you.
really, that has allowed me to, like, see these goals and place these goals down and know that they're achievable. And so that's why saying one voice, you were that voice for me. So yeah,
Awesome.
I love the visibility explosion, and I love that that's actually something that I'm intertwining into my business currently, and even in podcast. This podcast is a big one too, because this podcast isn't just like one thing. These are also being turned into videos and stuff too, and there's a workbook that's coming out with this too. And so there's a lot of different things, and I'm talking with lots of people and connecting with other people, and so that does bring visibility, and that is a visibility explosion. And so
Sure
I
is.
love that. I love that. And so I want to dive into question number 4. And so we kind of talked about visibility explosion, and now there's that last piece in regards to rapid growth. And
Mm-hmm.
so I want to know, what is the biggest tool or asset that you apply into your business when it comes to rapid growth? And, you know, rapid growth by formulating an authentic following on your social network. So
Sure.
if
Yeah,
that makes sense.
it does. Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
So it's probably not a shock for listeners to hear that it is joint ventures, co-creation, collaboration that is the biggest tool for rapid growth. Like that is hands down what I use and do every single time. But let me address what was it? The forming an authentic following, right? So we talked about that a little bit earlier where you were talking about how you used to put on a bit of a face,
Yep.
right? But now that you're being more genuine, you're attracting the right people. And that is definitely one of the keys is you have to show up as you. It can't be fake or phony, or you are going to attract fake and phony. It's not
Yes.
going to work as well, right? You have to
Yep.
be genuine. You also need to not just do this haphazardly. You need to really understand who your audience is, and you need to connect with and play with other experts, right, who have established audiences and who are complementary to the work you do, not competing, but complementary
Yes.
to the work that you do. And so from that place of being authentic, again, show up as you, right? Be
Yep.
authentically you, be genuine. You're going to attract the right people, but also really understand your audience as well so that you can play with the right people.
Yes.
They're going to bring value to your audience, but if you're connecting with the right people, you're also expanding yourself into their audiences, which are relevant to you and the work that you do.
Yep. Well, and even with this podcast, because there's a few people that are going to come on here, and because my podcast is like, the name of it is The Powerful and Uncensored Mompreneur. And so some of the women that I'm interviewing are not moms, and they were worried about not being able to provide them content. And I was like, why do you think that just because you're not a mom that you don't have this amazing ability to provide women this content that they need? I said, because yes, we're mom, but we're also women.
Yeah,
We
absolutely.
also understand what it was like to be single and to not have kids. Like, we also get that. And so there's certain things that we still need in our lives. And so, and a lot of the information and topics that we're talking about are relatable to mothers, they're relatable to women, they're relatable to having children and
Absolutely.
not. And so this
Yeah.
podcast has variety to it. It has a lot of incredible content and a lot of amazing speakers that'll be coming on here. And so it's just very versatile.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I wanted it to be a part of, because I didn't want it just to be, I wanted it definitely to have the feel of, moms empowering moms, which is why it's that powerful mompreneur. But I also wanted it to be women empowering women, because at the end of the day, we are women.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yeah.
it's important that women stick together instead of, there's that quote in regards to straightening each other's crowns instead of
Oh, yes. Yeah. Yeah,
yes.
absolutely.
So
And I just really, I like to put it together, we're better.
yeah, we are.
Plain
We
and
are.
simple.
Together we're better.
Together we're better.
And
Yeah.
even this podcast is going to get into some really juicy topics and some conversations that not everybody is used to having, but that is what this is about. This is about not having to feel like you have to close those doors, not feeling like you can't be exactly who you are, and really just breaking some stigmas in regards to some really touchy subjects that women and mothers go through. And I think it's so extremely important that these topics are talked about, because they need to be talked about for a reason. Like it's and I am talking about different things that I've personally gone through, which, if people listen to the introduction to myself and a couple different things, then you'll know a little bit more about what we'll be diving into. But some of them are going to be, really, really fiery topics.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so, and I know that you know about them, but I'm not going to drop those bombs yet.
No, we'll keep them guessing.
Yes, because
Yep.
it's good. And the people that we're eventually interviewing and the stuff that we're talking about, it's such an open podcast. And that's why I also love like the girlfriend's effect and how like women together we're powerful and we can really create magic. We can move mountains. And even that I was talking to you about that simple, the power of a belief, like the power of believing in something and believing in yourself, and having these women behind you that also believe in the message and the stuff that you want to come across. Like even in this podcast, there might be some things that you take and you leave the rest, and that's okay.
Absolutely.
Because you might only need a certain piece of the topic. But yeah, this podcast is aimed to really empower you and spark you a little bit.
Yep. Which is awesome. I'm excited. I can't wait to hear all the other episodes.
I'm excited. I'm nervous to really dive into some of those topics. And, I was actually talking with Stasia about how my masculine energy is going to have a great time hanging out in here, because I come out so well in these topics in my masculine energy, and they're great ways to like let that out. And so this podcast is also created as a way, and people will be able to learn more about that too with an interview that's coming up as well. But
Awesome.
It'll be good.
Yay.
Yeah, this gets me so excited. And so I love that we talked about all of these amazing things in regards to the girlfriend's effect. I loved that we talked about exactly what the girlfriend's effect really embodies, and the power of proximity and visibility explosion, and also rapid growth. And so if there's any points in this podcast where you missed some things in this episode, rewind it, catch it, pause it, take some notes. We encourage you to take notes because that's the best way to grow. I was talking with another coach today about really journaling things down, and a journal doesn't mean that you write, hi, my name is Kara. You can say that, but you also can just write random notes about the things that we've been talking about, the things that resonate with you. And I'm sure that all the listeners on here definitely resonated with one or all the things that you talked about, because I know that I sure did. And before we jump off of this, interview here, because you're on here, and I love that you're on here, and I want these, amazing women, these amazing listeners that are listening into this, on where can these women find you on social media? Where can they find you? Where are you hanging out, so that they can learn more about you?
The very best place to find me right now is over on my Facebook page. Just search for Gina Bell and you will find me. Just search Gina Bell. You will find me, either my personal profile, come say hello, or my business page.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I encourage you to go, check my mom out, which sounds so cute when I say that. But I recommend that you go over there, because she has incredible content. She's so inspiring, and she won't just inspire myself, but she inspires hundreds of people, and it would be so beneficial for you to go over there and just see all the stuff that she has for you. And so
yes, I know that, Kara, you will share my website once it's ready.
Yes.
And the next volume of the Success Rituals, that's in motion. I'm going to be inviting co-authors to play in that. So yeah, eventually there will be a new website, but for now, Facebook, that's the best place. Yeah.
And that's okay, because that's where a lot of people are able to find me, is on Facebook. And so there's nothing wrong. Social media is an amazing.
Yeah, and I don't want to send people to my old website.
And that's okay. You want
yeah.
people where people can find you, and that's Facebook. And so everyone, this is my amazing mother, Gina Bell, and I just want to thank you one more time, Mom, for coming on to this podcast, because I had such fun interviewing you, and I'm still blown away every time I talk to you about the knowledge that you have, and just how, you're your literacy, everything just blows my mind and I love it. And so I love you and thank you so much for having this conversation with me. And I will see everybody in the next episode.
Thanks, Kara. Thanks, everybody.